Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. We are breaking format today. Our early week show is dropping, actually going live even on a Sunday. We're going to sort of make this a hybrid of what we sometimes do with the ITM Inner Circle as well. We're going to be talking about some of these carryovers, 3 major carryovers today. Our friends at First, we're going to be talking about the races therein. We'll do a little bit of recapping like we usually do. Another way I'm breaking format is I am not, PTF, not in the Brooklyn bunker. It's too cold down there, punishingly cold. So instead, I'm up here in the Brooklyn salon. The fire is warming my back. I finally feel like a normal human after being outside today for already too long. But we need action. We've got the football. That's great, but we're going to do more than that. We're going to talk about these races at Gulfstream, at Santa Anita. We're going to give you the idea of some winners. With me today, sort of in a co-hosting role, a man who very often he'll host segments, I'll host segments. It's always extra fun for me when we get to be together. I'm speaking of Mikee P. Mike Proposi. How are things there? Are you guys frozen as well as we are here in New York?
Very cold here, snow dropping at about 2 inches per hour. So we're going to get dumped on per usual here in Pennsylvania. It's basically unavoidable.
And the man of the hour joining us. He is a regular on In the Money and always so proud of our contributors and the great work that they do. Thought we had some great preview ideas last week. Our association with the Gallup out. Jackson and Ryan, their numbers seem to be getting better every week, and their content is just fantastic always. Another guy who we have on here a lot had what to this point, it may, I want to call it a crowning achievement, but that's not right. It's more of potentially a jumping off point because he's been percolating on the contest scene for a couple of years. Nobody works harder in terms of trying to improve his own game and also in terms of just doing the work. So he just very, very proud of his major achievement, winning the Pegasus Contest yesterday. Chris Cupples, how are things, my friend? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. It's cold. We've got sleet coming down. We didn't get the snow, or it'd be even worse than it is outside. But had a great day yesterday. Thankful. Been hungry since Breeders' Cup. Mikey knows I had a crazy 2 days and just was wrong at the wrong time and felt like I let one slip away and been wanting to win one of the majors for a while and finally got one. You know, it kind of luck. As Mikey knows, that was not my strongest opinion of the day, but it worked out.
We're going to talk about the contest. We're going to review the races a little bit too. But the first thing I have to notice to the world or tell the world about you, Chris, is, you know, what a true horse player you are. And I think when we were first having you on the shows, I remember Mikey saying something like that. Like, we got to do more with this guy. He is such a horse player. He is and what made me think of that when we were talking off air before we came on here reminded me of, gosh, I don't know, 20 years ago now, the pro player Randy Gallo. I remember talking to him. He we did an interview for a book called 6 Secrets of Successful Bettors, and using a strategy he talked about in that book, proceeded to take down what to that point in time was the largest pick six in New York betting history. And I remember calling him and saying, "Oh, so how are you? What are you doing to celebrate today?" He's like, "Celebrate? There's a carryover at Southland. I'm handicapping the dogs."
Yeah, absolutely. There's carryovers everywhere today, and you know I've got a contest entry over on Twin Spires for Fairgrounds in Tampa. I got up at 4 a.m. and started working. You know, it just got to go.
I love it. Well, thank you for spending this time with us.
Real quick story, Pete. I texted Chris this morning about 7 in the morning because we always talk early mornings a lot. And I said to him, "Have you watched the replay yet?" He said, "No, I don't even have time for that." I said, "I watched it 2 or 3 times just thinking about you."
Yeah, I haven't watched it at all.
That's amazing. Well, let's start actually with the contest recap, and we'll probably get to the race recapping along the way. Tell us how you did it. What was the key? If there was one key moment, what was it for you yesterday in the Pegasus contest?
Early on, we were doing the Inner Circle show, and I had my strongest opinions were early in the card. I struggled with the end of the card. Mikey knows, and usually when I get done, I'm done. I got up that morning and started completely over because I just didn't have a plan, didn't have solid opinions. So I debated going all in on the horse in the first race. And I decided against it because we ran on the turf there in days, and I wasn't sure how much rain they had, blah, blah, blah. And if I'd done that, the horse lost. I know, didn't get out of traffic, probably would have, probably best, but I didn't play the horse. And then my next spot was like race 3, I made a big move and went to like 4th or 5th in the contest. And then race 5 was my next spot I was planning on all in. I went back on the horse that I liked, watched some works, and his last 2 works just did not look like he had previously, so I backed off of that, got saved again. Then I played a big double off the Topeta race into the turf sprint. And I had 1 saber double with the horse that in the Topeta race that I had as my lone B, went off like 10-1. And that little double gave me some money into the 3 in the sprint race. And then I just set the plan all along, if I could get any of my early opinions right, was to play 1 stripe and, Brown's turf horse. I went blank.
In the turf race,
Yes.
the beaten favorite, yes.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I was going to play that horse in 1 stripe into Skippy and doubles, and I did. And then 1 stripe missed by a nose. So then I just come back and played enough to give myself a chance to win on Skippy, to win the contest. And the race started falling apart at the quarter pole, and I got pretty excited, and he got there. So
that's amazing. I mean, to me, one of the biggest takeaways from that story is how very often the best bets are the ones you don't make. You know what I mean? I mean, you described it as being saved, and I think, anybody who's played in a live bankroll contest knows what that's about. If conditions had been slightly different, might have had the opportunity to push, and that could have been it. But instead, sort of kept grinding and never put yourself out of that position to win. And then, of course, you had the correct opinion late with Skippy, and this is a place as any to talk about that race. Yeah, the fast pace we had prophesied, even with the Baffert runner coming out, did materialize. Like you said, that race started to fall apart for a second. It looked like it was going to be White Barrio once again. I mean, he was clear in the lane, but pretty quickly, any experienced race watcher would have picked up the old timer Skippy Longstocking, making that 4th time a charm, getting the job done. Came back with a 104 Beyer speed figure. I had so many poor opinions on this day, Mikey, including, I remember saying to you when we were putting together our failed Inner Circle ticket yesterday, we should have just bet all Chris tips. When we put together our failed ticket on that, we said, or I said to you, White Barrio is the classic winner run out. He's going to win by 3, or he's not going to be on the board. The one thing he won't be is a good second. Well, he was a pretty good second. Mikey, what did you make of the Pegasus and Skippy? We want to talk about a crowning achievement. How about Skippy Longstocking winning on this stage at the 4th time of asking?
Yeah, how about 3 7-year-olds made up the trifecta? Some of those horses on the come, the Disco Times, the Tapan Streets really didn't fire their shots, and we were looking for something, I think, from those 3-year-olds turning 4, and maybe they would sort of stamp themselves for a year here, where that's sort of we're waiting on Sovereignty to come back, but these are the kind of horses that are going to bring us into this handicap division, and they did not show up, and neither one, honestly. And you have the old gamers. White Barrio really ran his race. He surprised me. I didn't think that he would do that. I know he loves Gulfstream, but at the quarter pole when Skippy made that move, and we're all sitting here rooting for Chris, and it was a great moment. You could just see he was coming. He was going to get there. He finally got his grade 1. It's made $5 million. I mean, does anybody really have any comprehension that this horse has made $5 million? That was his 4th Pegasus in a row.
It is pretty amazing. And it was, I was so happy. I managed to screw it up so badly in my own betting, like many of the people in the money world. Needed 1 stripe, did not use test score for a penny. Let's go back to that Pegasus turf and talk about that a little bit. How surprised were you, Chris, by test score pulling the upset, and how much were you tearing your hair out when 1 stripe just failed to get up there?
I wasn't totally shocked by test score. I kind of like test score. I just thought we talked about this in our group chat, and Will was in the group chat, and I just kind of thought he would lose position out of the gate and get too far back, and I had him underneath trying, to get a piece, but I didn't think he could win. And one strike, when he ran that last at Gulfstream, I remember thinking that day, I'm like, God, I hope this horse gets a great draw on Pegasus Day. I'm betting this horse. Well, then when the PPs come out, the jockey situation, I was just floored. Now I've got a guy coming in, not rode at Gulfstream, not even rode in America for the first time. So I couldn't do that, so I backed off. Will talked about the jockey a little bit and how good One Strike was doing, so I got back on the double and played that double and almost got there.
Yeah, he it was tough. He just got a little bit too far back, it seemed.
Yeah.
Test score had that great trip. Came back at a 97 buyer speed figure. I mean, not really a grade 1 type number, but sounds like test score. We weren't quite sure how he would progress from age 3 to age 4, but definitely on the figures, made an improvement, got the job done. Mikey, any other thoughts on the Pegasus turf before we start turning the conversation here?
Yeah, I think that maybe One Stripe could have been best in there. Just sort of got started just a little too late. Test score also, getting off the rail, kind of had some bumping. They didn't even look at it in the stretch there with Chasing the Crown. It's amazing though. What a grinder he is. He got a fantastic ride. Test score did to win the race. Both to see motion 1-2 in a grade 1 turf race. It's like the universe sort of lined up perfectly. It was a tough day at Gulfstream yesterday, but I thought that was a pretty satisfying result.
Yeah, it was interesting having the big trainer 1-2, Safi Joseph in the big one, and Graham getting it done in the Pegasus turf. And those were, from a human point of view, those are satisfying results. I do have to say, I think when we look back now at these races, it is going to be a little bit more of not just a story of who didn't show up on the day, looking at the big Pegasus, but just these horses who didn't make the trip, potentially with those Middle Eastern targets in mind a little bit farther down the road. I'm going to tell a story I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell or not about the Pegasus, but for those regular listeners, I think I'm putting this together, and I think I have this right, and either of the principals can correct me if I'm wrong. But we had the Sean Borman show last week. Now, Sean checked out of American racing, at least for now, but still offering advice, and it really was one of his angles that helped if you were going to play extremely against disco time, something that I was not smart enough to do. But I do believe the person he referred to that he had lunch with in Lexington was a guy we've talked about on these airwaves before. We've had him on John Gasper's excellent show. If you're a contest player, you're going to want to check that out. And the tournament winner was. But Ryan Petruniak ended up having himself a day as well. And he credited Sean just with the LP idea of you're looking to beat favorites. He noticed on just the Briss LPs that disco time just did not fit. And given the trips that he'd had, he thought not finishing those races effectively in terms of late pace, that gave him the confidence to play against the horse. It led to the score of his life. So I wanted to give a shout out there to Sean and to Ryan. And let's get back to talking about the contest for a minute, Chris, before we pivot and talk about these races some. I did want to ask you about your handicapping case on Skippy. What was it that ultimately led you to that direction? What reasons did you have? How confident were you in fading the two Cox favorites in that spot, who were the only ones the market would seem to hear of winning?
Tevin Street was a complete fade. I didn't have him anywhere. I respected disco time, but now I have a thing with Gulfstream horses coming in that's never ran on that dirt. That dirt is different. It's sandy, depending on how the track's went, they can be heavier. And I'm not going to bet that price on a newly turned 4-year-old taking on olders, drawing the rail over a track he's never ran over. There were just so many things that
too many questions
that wouldn't let you bet on this horse, or wouldn't let me bet on this horse. Let me rephrase that. Myself could not bet. And Skippy, was I confident in Skippy? No, I was not. I know that is outside of contest play, at a chance to win a contest like that. It's not a horse I would bet on. The only other money I had on Skippy was like the wind ladder thing on Twin Spires we all play for fun, and I had him in a $2 mythical thing that I won on horse tourneys, but in my cash play where I bet very few races but bet them hard, he would not have been a play. But in the contest world, he was. He shows up every time. He loves Gulfstream. The race had all the pace in there. I thought he would save some ground. The race had a good chance of falling apart, and it did. And I got lucky. I know my strongest, not my strongest opinion. One of my weakest opinions of the day was the last race. Is why I didn't have 2 entries. I had won the one, failed to win another. I didn't have the opinions in the last race to justify $6,000 for a second entry. So I was not confident. But goes back to when I called you or texted you that day after Fountain of Youth 2 or 3 years ago, and you give me Matt Miller's number. If you're going to play the game, give yourself a chance to win the game.
That's it.
And that was my top opinion. So I bet enough on my top opinion to give myself a chance to win, and it worked out.
That's great. And I'd like to hear Matt's influence. I know very satisfying for him when he gets to know that either through the book or through personal conversations, able to help other players and get them to improve their game. That's what certainly sounds like has happened there for you over the course of these last few years.
Absolutely. If it wasn't for Matt's influence in my life, I would have played $400 or $500 worth in exactas if it would have been 3 years ago me, and I'd have walked away with $5,000 or $6,000 and watched Skippy win, and like, well, man, if I'd have just bet that horse to win, this would have been completely different. And
that's great. I got a couple more for you, Mikey. Mikey, you think if you have any other contest specific questions for Chris, and I'll pepper him with my last few questions. What was your total haul, if you don't mind my asking, in terms of the money that you won yesterday in the Pegasus?
I haven't done on Mondays. I go back and kind of do my accounting, but
approximately.
In that contest should have been 160, and then I did like 6,000 on horse tourneys, and I think like another 5,000 or 6,000 in cash. I hit a $2,000 exacta live on the inner circle yesterday morning.
Yep.
So that was a chunk of the cash, because my cash betting it's went down a little bit with the new tax law.
Right. Understandably. Well, a topic for another show, as is the deeper dive into your whole process, because it's interesting, but we got a lot of races to talk about, and I do want to ask you a couple other things before we get going. I've got one more for you in terms of the contest portion of the show, but what about you, Mikey? Anything else for Chris on his contest win yesterday?
Well, I mean, I was basically with him every step of the way, just with the group chat, and then we, and I will say too, just from my standpoint, just being involved with Jackson, Ryan, Chris, and Matt has had some influence on me as well. And getting involved with these people that are doing this full time all the time. It's amazing how much you can learn and really, getting on these shows and the inner circle shows and listening to Chris share everything that he goes with. I mean, that's the thing about him. He's a great guy. He's incredibly generous with his time, with his information. And that's the thing for me, is just to see, and he's very humble also. He goes and wins the contest. He's digging back in and playing the late pick 3 at Santa Anita. I mean, and just, I can't say enough about Chris, honestly. I really can't. To be with him and to follow these contests is improved my horse play. So I have to say shout out to Chris in that sense. And Chris, I mean, I don't know. I want to know, the reason I asked you this morning about watching the replay was just to have that feeling almost over and over again. Whenever you see, you have a shot, and basically that he's going to win. I mean, that would be something that I would probably want to replicate. For you, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are. Will you ever go back and do it?
Yeah, absolutely I do. But I also want a second KDBC seat that I got to win today. So I had to do that first. And all that, what you just said means a lot to me. I know our group text is awesome. It benefits us all. And you mentioned Jackson. Jackson was on Skippy too. And we didn't talk until after we made decisions. There's been several times where me and him land on the same odd, pricey horse. And that's, that just kind of says something like the process was there. different process, and we came to the same answer. And like Ryan, if I was where Jackson, Ryan, Noah Maher, a couple other young guys are at their age, I'd have done conquered this at this point and quit. These guys are in their early 20s and they are so far ahead. Yeah. They do amazing things.
I've had the same reaction hanging out with them. I mean, I love the fact that there's young blood like that, but sometimes I do feel envy. It's like, all that and you're how old? Like, how long did it take me to figure that out? But to your point about, I'll put in a little just general ITM plug here, because I do think for a lot of people, like when we were starting out, like the people you knew were the people you met on the damn train on the way out to the track. And yeah, I mean, I met some sharp people. I'm not saying that. But what we want to try to do within the money is to create a community where other people can participate in that too, whether it's through conversations, listening to conversations like this one that we're having, but also by interacting directly. And I'm not saying you have to be an inner circle person to get feedback. Like I'll answer any civil and usually even not civil comments that I receive. My email I give out all the time. If you just go to inthemoneypodcast.com and hit the contact page, that goes right to my email. And I'm happy to answer questions and point people in directions and try to help them on their horse playing journey as it is. But if you've got the money, if you're in position, our inner circle gives you just a whole other level of access to conversations like this. And, we'll handicap races on demand and answer questions on demand. I mean, again, you don't have to be inner circle we're all pretty giving people. And if you ask, we're going to do our best to answer if we have time. If you're inner circle though, there's no way I'm not responding. It's kind of that kind of deal. But anyway, something folks might want to check out, inthemoneypodcast.com /plus. Inner circle is our highest and best, I would say, level of participation there. And it lets us bring all the free content that we do to you. We're going to get to these races, I swear, but I did want to talk a little bit more about contests. And we've talked a lot about this Pegasus contest, obviously, where friends and partners with Stronach Group for a lot of stuff, and the contests they run on ExpressBet are things that we're talking about all the time here. But we're equal opportunity amongst our sponsors who do these contests. And the TwinSpires platform is one, Chris, I know you're very involved in, and I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about how the advent of the TwinSpires platform has helped you in your horse playing.
Well, there's so many more opportunities now with TwinSpires having live money contests on a weekly basis at different tracks. They have a schedule laid out. You can buy in at all different levels.
Almost daily basis, really.
Yes, absolutely. And, if this is something you want to do, those lower levels, it's practice for days like yesterday, where if you go back 3 or 4 years ago, there was maybe a live money contest once a month. And most of those were higher buy-in. So if you were going to practice, you had to do it the Drew Coatney style, and you had to have pen and paper, and you were just practicing all on your own.
If you have the discipline to do that, I know.
Yeah, you do have to have the discipline. And the whole betting every race thing, you got to be pretty lucky for that to work out. I've got an education on that, which any education you're going to pay for. So now I'm very disciplined. But there's great opportunities to win in feeders and the big contests, cash money contests. It's a daily thing. We're all having a great time because most everybody in there we know are friends. It's bragging rights. You want to see your friends do good. And shout out to the people in the chat. Matt Miller, of course, in there. Justin Sampson's a great player. John Judge, and him, great guy. Mike Saletto's a great contest player, and we all chat and go back and forth. It's a great time. I highly encourage anybody to get involved. There's some you can buy in for $35.
Great stuff. All right, let's talk about some of these races. Mikey, where should we begin?
Well, I mean, just the Gulfstream races overall. I know Chris was. We just keep going back through the field here, and grand job. I know Chris was very high on this one, going in that inside information stakes. And this one galloped had an outside post, never looked a loser the whole way around the racetrack, just dominated. And it was quite the day for Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott. A lot of those horses that he keeps throwing out there. It just seems like he has the most talented horses in the country right now.
Yeah, I think they ran 3 dirt horses yesterday, and all 3 of them won, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look.
It's been an unbelievable run. I mean, and it's crazy to see somebody at already at such a high level find a way to somehow just keep on soaring. And yeah, I mean, if you weren't on side with those guys yesterday, you were not. You had to at least stand out of the way if you wanted to have a winning day.
Yeah.
But I think for timing reasons, Mikey, unless you got something strong on to recap in one of those other races from yesterday, we might as well just get into some handicap.
Yeah, I just think that the race with Knightsbridge and Life and Times, I mean, that was one where I was really looking forward to Life and Times to see what we had there. And he showed up at Knightsbridge. He's another one. Never looked a loser there for Mott and Alvarado. Life and Times got away from the rail, but he just, I don't know if it was the Lasix, maybe it's just a step up in competition. I don't know. It wasn't necessarily his day, but Knightsbridge dominated that spot, and I'm curious to see where they go next with him.
Did anybody catch a figure yet for Knightsbridge? I can look it up real quick, but I'm curious how fast that race came back. It may have been a little slow in final time, only because they were burning along. Spoke to our buddy over in the UK, who does some great analysis and is hopefully going to be doing even a little bit more for us, Andrew Harmon, who said his day was sort of undone by, over there. You can bet the races while they're going on, and seeing the fractions and the duel decided that Knightsbridge was a short enough price and ended up laying him, and not a successful one. Yeah,
105.
It came back at 105. I mean, that's serious. It'll be interesting to see. Be interesting to see if he can continue to develop. I mean, he's 5, right? So I mean, this is him as a horse. That's probably as fast as he is. But I mean, you see that race, a race like the Dirt Mile certainly doesn't seem out of consideration. Obviously, that's a 2-turn mile. This was a 1-turn mile, but definitely a horse that could have some big targets in the future. Do you think that'll be his crowning achievement, Mikey, or do you think we'll see more from him?
I'd be curious to see what they do next. I mean, they have some races to look forward to, right? I mean, that Derby Day race every year, that 7 furlongs is a big one, and then you have the Met Mile in the summertime. If he continues to improve, I don't know that they were thinking anything Saudi Arabia or anything like that, but there's plenty of 1-turn races over there too. That
1-turn mile and an 1/8. I mean, they may think about it. They may think about it. Again, we'll have coverage of that stuff for you. That'll mostly be on the plus side. We don't have a lot of sponsored content for the international stuff, but that's something that we'll have in one form or another for you here. What do you think? We got these 3 carryovers, coast to coast first.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. It's the biggest carryover, 149,000 coast to coast at Gulfstream and Santa Anita today. It's the last 2 races at Gulfstream, and then races 5, 6, and 7 from Santa Anita. So I would imagine this coast to coast pool is going to be close to $1 million today.
You would think. So we start with race 10 at Gulfstream. My opinions on these races are in another show. So Dean Kepler and I did the Sunset 6, which has a carryover. We're going to get to a lot of those races too on this show, but check out that show we did with Dean. If you're a plus person, we send you the digest of all the picks. You'll be able to have that there. So I'll go very light on my opinions, if at all, but I do want to hear from the guys on this one. Mikey, why don't we keep it with you for your thoughts on this optional claimer at 7 furlongs on the dirt that kicks off the coast to coast?
I feel like this is a 2-horse race. I know there's some horses with some class in here, but I think Pursuit Never Sleeps will be a pretty big favorite in here for Pletcher and Irad, and comes off a really nice win at Churchill on November 27th. Beat a horse called Stiglitz there, who came back and galloped coming out of that race. Ended up with a 107 buyer at Oaklawn in the next start, and there was another horse that won out of that race also. So I do think that that's a live race. This one has speed, probably will be in the right spot again. The only other horse I could maybe see if you get a lot of pressure up front would be the 1 Super Tuscan. they had a couple wins, one at Saratoga, one at Delaware. Then they tried that Mahoning sprint race for 300,000. This horse had a terrible start in that race. Really, no chance. This took him out of his game, but I thought he fired pretty well to be third in that spot against the racetrack. So if he gets some kind of trip, I do think that he's worth throwing on as a B to start the coast to coast.
3-1 for Mikey there. Chris, how do you see it?
This is probably the most spready race, and after scratches, it's not really going to be that spready.
Oh, we should have. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned the scratches. That's a total host fail.
It's down to a 4-horse field.
Yeah, take out 2, 4, and 6.
I'm probably going to take the approach, and I'm going to leave the 1 off, and if I lose, I just lose. But I'm going to use the other 3 with the 5 pressed up more. As long as there's no other changes in this race and the 1 and 5 both go, I think they could get into a pretty good speed duel here. And Bilal's not going to be too far back, and it's probably going to move early. And that could set it up for the 3, Flying Liam, which was not the original closer I wanted, but I think he's going to get outpaced early. And maybe he can come late. He's a pretty solid horse, to be honest. He's got some back class. He ran at Gulfstream. 7 furlongs is where he's done his best work. I don't want to leave him off. With now 4 horses in there, if somebody wanted to get real spready and lose value, I could see using all 4. But I just don't like the 1.
5 and 3. No, so in terms of recapping,
I'm A with the 5, and then the 3 and 7 Bs.
And then Mikey, when I was recapping your picks, I'm pretty sure I said the wrong number. It's the 5 who's your A, and then the B and then the 1 is the B, right?
Right, correct.
Okay, excellent. Let's move right on then to the nightcap at Gulfstream. Maiden special weight, going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf here for these fillies and mares. Chris, we'll keep it with you.
I'm going to have 2 on the A-line. I'll put the 7 on top, and when I started watching works on her, I was going to single her, and then the last work kind of looked like she took a step backwards, which was a little bit of concern, so that made me hesitate a little. The 6 is one I like the works on at Saratoga prior to debut. Ran good. That barn's firing. I'm going to use both of those as my A's, and I might use the 1 a little bit, just kind of solid. Maybe you can save ground and get the right trip.
Sounds good to me. Mikey, you have similar numbers to Chris, or you want to bring something else to the party?
Yeah, I agree on a couple of those. I like the 7. I think that one, I don't really like horses that are laid up, but this one, I thought the works were good, lay 6 in the right hands. So I do think as a use in a race that really it's just filled with horses that have had plenty of chances. I would probably use the 1 just because I think that this horse, she's a 5-year-old mare now, 0 for 10. But I do think she's faced some tough ones. Fast Market, Peak Hype, both horses that I do like, and neither one of those are in this race. And the only other horse I could maybe see would be the 6 as a B type. Just last time was stuck inside, got very rank. It needs a clean trip. The barn is very hot right now. So I would be 7, 1, and then a little 6.
I had some goofy ideas in there. I was going to try to wake up that Ian Wilkes runner on the outside, the 11, trying to see if maybe that stair step pattern that we sometimes see could work out for that one. I did like Via Veneto right back, that 6 that you mentioned, maybe throwing into the mix, Mikey. So yeah, we'll see. We may do a group ticket here. Who knows? I mean, it is a Sunday. We need some action, so we'll see. But just recap your official selections here for me for the notes, Mikey.
1, 7, and 6.
And 7 and 1 is A's, and 6 is B?
Yep.
Terrific. All right, good stuff. What is the 3rd leg? Which Santa Anita race is it?
Race number 5.
Okay, race number 5 at Santa Anita. Chris, this is one of the ones that you looked at, right?
Yeah, I've looked at the ones in the coast to coast. Yes.
Terrific. Well, hit us with your thoughts on this 5th race at Santa Anita on Sunday.
It's not an easy race by any means, and I did all the work here, looked for somebody that showed some kind of talent, and there just wasn't a lot of it to me. You've got several that are stretching out, trying something new so they could beat you. And the 4 is trying the turf for the first time while stretching out. Ultimately, I'm going to single the 1. I'm going to try to hit this thing multiple times. And I know it's a carryover, so you can justify spreading and just trying to make some money. But I'm just going to play the 1 here. If I played anybody else, I would use the 6, and the rest of them just not for me.
Mikey, how about you?
I understand the 1. Chris, I'm surprised you didn't like the 4 a little more. Got beaten nose to Nafisa. I think we both liked that horse yesterday who galloped at Santa Anita for Baffert there. And then now we get the grass. But if you look at the mare was turfy, actually. It was, in a couple grade 3 races on the grass. So I know it was 1 for 17, but at least, could handle the turf. And in a race that I do think really lacks a standout, like Chris mentioned. That's one for Mandela that I do want to use here. I think that one definitely I want on side. And then I could see the 3 Surf Song also. Just kind of a closer type off the bench again. Plenty of chances, but plenty of shares. 5 shares in 8 starts. I think could get a trip. Some of these horses on the inside, like the 1, the 2, have been ranked, had trouble. I've had chances and really just can't find a way to get there. So I'd be curious to see how the pace shakes out in here. It's not an easy race. I do think that there are ones. So I would be 4-3. I'd probably throw the 1 in also.
I need the 2 if we were doing a group ticket here, guys. I just think it's such a huge trainer change, getting Mullins into the mix there. So we're pretty spready on a group ticket, but we'll see. Maybe there might be a way to make it make sense in some way, shape, or form. What's the next race in the coast to coast?
Race 6. So we're going to go 5, 6, 7 from Santa Anita there. These all 3 in a row here. The 12-5. Yeah, 12-5 claimer, state breds going 6 furlongs. I was talking to Chris offline about this, and it's just a really tough race. There's really not a lot of form. I think a lot of people will end up on the 4 Subtle Knowledge just because the horse is very underexposed. 1 start. Got a terrible start in that race at Los Al on December the 13th and ended up finishing up okay. Now, the works since then have been, I thought, pretty decent. So I would use that one. And then the only other horse I think maybe has a chance is the 2 Tom Star, but had a brutal trip last time. This horse wants to kind of sit off and make a run late. Last time was stuck 4 wide at a pretty hot pace for the level. So just another one I think probably needs a trip out, but I was really chalky, 4-2.
4-2 for Mikey there. I know it's a hold your nose pick, but can Starfruit be, or Track Fruit, or whatever the source is called? I've botched the name twice. Trick Fault, it looks like here with all the starts. But I mean, this is the clear speed. At this level, with all these exposed maidens, I wouldn't rule it out. Let's put it that way.
For 3,500 though at Los Al.
And he is very, very slow.
So cheap, but boy, at this level, they just don't want to pass. What do you think, Chris? Who do you like?
I like the 7 Reckless Ride. Showed speed the last 2 times. I know they were en route, but he actually did go faster. It wasn't just closer because it was a route. I'm going to use that horse, and then I'm going to use the 4 Subtle Knowledge. Mullins is 4 for 11 with second-time starter, dirt sprinting, maiden claimers, 64% in the money. I will say most of those 4 were made in 30 to 50 range, not this bottom level group that is always a little scary at home. There's a reason these horses are in for 12-5. You're not going to get a lot of confidence in any of them, and they will break your heart and let you down. But I'm just using the 4 and 7, and that is it.
7 and 4 to get home. We close this one out with Santa Anita's 7th race. And for this one, this is the stake of the day. It's the Baffle. Mikey, who do you like?
Well, this is it's not an easy race, honestly. I was in the middle of the gate here. I think Cal's Goal, the 4, is interesting. I like the 2 turf wins, one at 6.5. Now that was a flat 6.5 at Santa Anita, but just got the front and kept extending. Looked like the distance was very suitable. And then ended up winning at 5 furlongs at Del Mar from off the pace. So versatile. And I know has to face a couple that have been in stakes races like Hey Nay Nay. I'll use that one also. But I just think that this one has some talent, and I can't trust some of the other ones. Hey Nay Nay's obvious, back sprinting. I do think that that's what he wants to do. But he was very green last time, kind of all over the racetrack. He lost at 1-2. So we'll see. He needs to prove it.
4 and 3, the main numbers for you there. Any others you'd want to throw in at this stage?
I don't think so. I just don't like any of the other ones. I'm really not interested in the 7 or the 2. Some of the long shots just don't interest me, so I'd be skinny.
Chris, how about you?
I'll start with my Bs. They're going to be the 2, 3, 4, but then the 7, that's going to be my primary play out. Like I said, I'm going to try to hit this thing multiple times later than planned. There's plenty of pace in here. has not went to 6.5. But if you go back to the debut, ran second to Ipamina Queen, I believe. She left there, went to Ascot, then she ran second to Havana Anna, won a couple listed stakes. Later in the plan comes over, tried to route a couple times, won the Speakeasy for fun, drew into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, so was out wide, took back immediately, angled in. I thought the horse made a pretty good run inside. The pace gets up. If this horse can have the same kick getting the 6.5 down the hills it does 5, I think this is game over.
All right. I like the case. Very passionate. I promised we were going to talk pick 6. And again, my thoughts on the last 3 are on the other show with Dean. Chris, you mentioned you're still in progress of doing the last 2, so we won't hold your feet to the fire there. But did you, Chris, look at the race that kicks off the pick 6 by chance, race number 4 at Santa?
I did not know.
Okay, don't worry about it. Mikey, how about you? Did you look at that one?
Just briefly, there's going to be a big favorite in there in the 4, Syntax, coming off a speed try last time over the grass. Now gets back to the dirt. And this race raced pretty well on November 28th over the dirt at Del Mar. I've certainly taken money in both starts, and there's a lot of horses in here again that have had plenty of chances. So I think I'd be, pretty heavy 4 in there. I can't get past the favorite.
I was master of the obvious as well. Let's get your thoughts, Mikey, on these last 2 at Santa Anita before we wrap this one up. Race number 8 is a Calbred Dirt Allowance. Who's your idea of the winner of that one?
This is a tricky race here because Berlin Wall's back in here again, and they tried the grass on January the 15th, and this horse didn't run a step on the grass and was 8-5 in that race. Prior to that, they tried the Malibu after a really nice win on November 16th. So a lot of racing in a very short period of time, and now we're going to a mile with Berlin Wall. I would probably have to try to play against, and it's tricky after that, though. I do think Team Player is interesting. I thought maybe got started a little bit too late last time. Rallied to be 3rd against Mr. Disrespectful. It's been hot, and that one got a very good trip. He certainly likes to win, so that's a pretty nice horse. I do think that Team Player is a horse that I would really want to use in there. And then you could use others. I mean, I think the 8 Left-Hand Man, it was in that same race last time, made a pretty big run on the outside, raced pretty well there. And then for a long shot, maybe the 9 passed the baton. If you look at the last dirt race, October 26th, was a nice winner with an 83 figure. 2 turf races, really pretty poor. This horse is 20-1 morning line, and a horse that I think you could throw in maybe for a nickel.
Okay, I like that. How about the pay leg? We should recap the carryovers one more time. You mentioned the number on the coast to coast. Do you have in front of you by chance the numbers for the Sunset and the other one, the traditional pick 6?
I can look very quickly. I think the Sunset's around 100 because it's a couple day carryover.
Yeah, it's a several day one. That sounds right. And then the traditional one, I think, has built up as well, as you'd expect with that higher multiple. While you look that up just quickly, I mean, I'll give you my numbers so you don't have to necessarily go and listen to that other show on the 8th and the 9th. I was Team Player on top in Santa 8th. I was going to back up with the 8. And in Santa 9th, I thought that Charlie's Curlin was interesting as one who would appreciate the distance. I also thought the 5 might move up. So I was 3 and 5 there. What do you have in terms of these? Can you confirm or deny regarding the carryovers?
Yeah, so it's 109 for actually 106 for the 3-day Sunset 6 carryover, and then the straight pick 6 at Santa Anita is 51,000.
Nice.
And then it's 149, I believe, for the coast to coast.
A lot of money being added to these pools, people. We hope that you get involved. Chris, we're going to let you go and handicap. Mikey, are there any questions or anything we can answer since we're doing this live? Is there anything like that, or should I just send it home?
I'm going to get a word in real quick before we go. I just want to thank everybody for in the chat. So I've got all kind of messages, Twitter, text messages. Thank everybody. And I didn't mention my wife. I'm sure there's many people that play this game that catch all kind of shit for betting horses. I can remember we were in Keeneland in the fall, and I had to bet my whole bankroll on a horse that Romans had claimed, and she looked at me and said, "It's monopoly money." And that's an example of the support I get from her for this. When wanted to say thank you there too, because I said thank you everywhere else, and I'd have probably got a little evil eye if I didn't mention it.
But that is amazing. It's funny, and I'll let you go here in a second, I swear. But I was talking to my wife, Susan, this morning about this. A show I've wanted to do for years and have never gotten my act together. It'd be so perfect for those really quiet weeks early year. So it may wait until then. But I don't know. There may be a quiet week to just do it. Partners of Horse Players shows. Like getting to talk to your wife. The one that Susan already has all these stories that are just going to bury me. Which I think the audience will appreciate. But here's what I really want. Alex Henry's husband. I mean, you got to figure he's got some great stories.
He gets, yeah, she is emotionally tied. I've seen her post some videos. It's like, wow. You love it.
I tell Chris all the time that he has no idea how rare that he has in a wife. Like it is that he couldn't find a woman.
That level of support, the Monopoly money comment.
She's watching workouts right now.
Gotta get to the NHC.
She missed the NHC seat yesterday by one spot on Horse Players, so she was kind of a little angry.
She's amazing.
That's very funny. What do we think? Do we have some questions, or should I just we'll let Chris go in either case? But should you and I want to stick for a minute?
See you later. Bye, everyone.
See you, Chris. Thank you, and congratulations one more time.
Thank you.
And enjoy the Chris Cupples Victory Media Tour. Steve Bick gonna happen. I think we left enough meat on the bone that maybe you could do John Gasper this week. We'll leave that up to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
He just did it 2 weeks ago.
Bye.
Cheers, buddy. No, I know he was just on, but it's like, I don't know. It feels like the victory lap 2 weeks later might be good. All right. Do we have anything in the comments we should address?
Just lots of good comments, but it's mostly everybody talking to each other and thanking Chris and things like that. So
that's awesome. No, we like
that. But this has been a good show, and if you're interested in this kind of content, especially for Inner Circle, we have Chris almost every week. We do a lot of plus shows with Chris, with Jackson. So just if you're looking for extra content, jump on to In the Money Plus. There's just so much great information. You get the notes too from the shows and the extra shows straight to your email. So if you can't listen, you can still catch the picks on there. So there's just so much good. I always say that I was a customer before I was in the money lieutenant. So it's definitely worth it. So definitely get in on In the Money Plus.
Lieutenant, try MVP. But yeah, there's a man that we will not bury. You probably would have been a part of In the Money, 2 years earlier had somebody made the introduction they said they were going to make. But hey, that's life in the big city sometimes. Mikey, it's always a pleasure. That's such a funny thing about tournaments, and I'm sure people watching will appreciate this. Yesterday was a day that I just got absolutely buried. I mean, I just couldn't make a right move, and I still ended that day. You told me that Chris had won. It just put the biggest smile on my face. It was like the disappointment of the day was gone. You root for yourself, you bet on yourself, but when you don't win, it's so great to see your friends win, especially somebody like Chris, who's been so generous with his time with us. So yeah, the big day for us around here. Let us know what you thought of this experiment. Did not something we always do. With doing the quick recap on Sunday and throwing some handicapping in. But frankly, Mikey, I enjoyed it. And we did just get notice, just got the email, parent school canceled tomorrow. So this is one less hour of the day I need to work. We can go make snow angels or something. So that'll be fun too. All right, I'm going to send it home. We want to give some thank yous before we do that to everybody watching live. Thank you. That's awesome. Really appreciate you. Mikey, of course. Chris, of course. Our founding partners at 10 Strike Racing. We're planning. We're just at early stages, people. Planning maybe an ITM trip for the Keeneland contest in a few months' time. If you're down there, maybe we can have a drink at that nice little bourbon bar by the paddock. I do think the 10 Strike team will be represented, and it's always so fun to hang out with them and root for the purple and black. Our charity partners, Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. Learn more about them and the work they do helping humans and horses in themoneypodcast.com/horses. Most of all, though, I want to thank all of you, the regular listeners and viewers watching this thing on demand. You are our lifeblood, our backbone, and you make these shows so much fun to do. Hit us with a comment, rate, review, subscribe, do all that great stuff. There's ways you can help support this content if you don't want to pay as well. If you want to go that extra level, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. The show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.